Elio guys, and welcome back to another episode of Infinite Magicraid. And in today's video we're going to be taking a look at my Nid Rold. So I know some of you guys have been curious about him. I've been using him especially on my global account here for quite a bit, and I do feel like my understanding of him is pretty basic at this point in time. So probably in the future, especially once his gear is a lot more spicy, I will kind of give you guys a update on it as I kind of test out bleed more, because my current equipment I feel like doesn't really do it justice here, but I still want to get this information out right now so I could always look back on this in the future, and you of course could always look back on this in the future as well here. But anyways, we do have my boy Nid Rold, and let's go ahead and take a look at his stat distribution. We'll go over his skills. I'll kind of showcase what my Nid Rold is capable of doing at this point in time, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. But taking a look at his stats right here, I mean, they're nothing super amazing. His effect hit is dirt nasty low, and his mastery is decent, but it could definitely be higher. Outside of that, his crit rate is nearly 60%, which is one of the things that I'm trying to test with bleed in terms of just raw attack versus crit rate, because I don't believe bleed is affected by crit rate. Don't quote me on it. I believe it's just taken from raw attack here. But since his moves already have kind of like base damage into them, I figured why not kind of up those raw numbers versus the bleed, because if the bleed doesn't stick, well, you're just left with your base numbers here. But let's go ahead and take a look at his skills real quick. So for his basic attack, Sword of Destruction, he deals 2 stages of attack damage, and there's a chance for it to apply bleed. Bleed is where most of his damage comes from. Good explanation on that one. Then next up after that is his active skill called Sword Mastery, and this is an AoE move, and essentially if the enemy has a whole bunch of bleed stacks on them, it's going to do more damage. That is pretty much it. But we do see here with his exclusive level 1, which I do have, that he can cast Sword Mastery 1 time again, up to 1 time if a target is killed by this skill. So he could hopefully spam this skill, not necessarily spam it, but he could do it again if he's successful in killing stuff, which is just added damage, and that's always great. Alright, and then next up here we do have his passive called Sharp Sword Aura, where it increases the bleed damage that he deals by 15%. That's a decent chunk right there. But the most interesting part about this passive skill is that there is a 60% chance for him to convert direct damage over to bleed damage whenever a target takes direct damage while under bleed status. So say for instance you have a target here, they have 1 bleed stock on them. Say for instance you do Nid's basic attack here, but the bleed doesn't stick. Well, because they have that 1 stack of bleed on them, if I'm reading this correctly, there's a chance that the direct damage that's being applied to them is going to basically proc that bleed anyways and get another stack up there, when in normal cases without this passive, if the bleed didn't stick once the skill is activated, then that's it. So this kind of helps him keep up bleed stacks, which is really important for his damage. And then we have his ultimate over here, Sword Flurry. He drops down all types of damage with this skill. It does hit for 5 times on a random enemy or random enemies, so it is kind of a weak AoE skill, but once you hone into like 1 target, it does actually smiley face gaming damage. Like, I won't lie to you guys whatsoever here, but let's take a look at my equipment for him real quick. So we've already went ahead and covered his stats right here, so let's take a look at the actual equipment. So he is on a wild / slay set at this moment in time, trying to go more DPS orientated and not focus so much on the bleed, because once again, I definitely need to forge some better gears, which I can't forge better gear unless I get my lovely materials from participating in the events, so that takes time to kind of build up here. But yeah, he's rocking a wild and slay set at this point in time. Obviously something that raises up his attack and mastery would also be a very good idea, and also effect hit too, so I definitely hope in the future to kind of change this up, but this is what he's rocking. So wild set, there's a little bit of crit rate up there, a little bit of speed. For his armor, there's some crit rate and effect hit. Other than that, just garbage substats in general. For the boots, there's a little bit of mastery, a little bit of crit rate and effect hit. And then for his slay set accessory, there's a little bit of crit rate, mastery, and speed once again. So nothing spicy really in terms of the subs, because this is my global account, so that's something I definitely want to tweak into the future, especially considering what other pieces of gear do I have at the moment. There's effect hit gear, but if I can't forge it, I don't really want to use it. There's also the mastery and effect hit too, but I don't know. I would definitely need to do some testing with that. And there's also this lovely leech gear too, so maybe I'll swap 2 of those out and kind of show it in the video how much his damage changes versus maybe the guild boss if I haven't done that already here. And then there's also his artifacts. This one's just a mastery artifact, nothing too spicy up there. The second one is a attack artifact because bleed does scale off attack, and that does have a decent speed stat added up there, as well as some crit rate, and that's always a lovely thing. And then for the last one is just a speed book with a little bit of attack rate and mastery and crit rate up there as well, so that could definitely be changed because I think I may end up switching my Elena over to more of a speedy type build and kind of leave the damage to Nid, because I'll have a separate video on Elena, but from my own personal usage of her, I do believe that stat may be a bit more effective for her, but you know, we'll touch on that later here. Let's go over here and check out his lovely emblems as well though. So I recently did some testing in terms of his whole emblem configuration here, and at this point in time, at least, you know, from what I can gather from the RNG, this seems to be the most favorable in terms of his damage. He was on a more basic type emblem set before I tested him with Guild Boss, but because Guild Boss's RNG is just so randomized at this point in time of my global account here, it's kind of hard for me to like hone in and figure out what exactly is going on with each run, because one run may produce a whole bunch of bleed stacks. The next run, his damage is down by like 2 million, and I'm just like, wow. That's terrible, absolutely terrible. But this is what he's rocking here, and I'm curious to see what you guys may have on him, because if it works out better for you guys, hey, feel free to let me know in the comments below, or join the Discord if you guys haven't already, because I am a moderator on the Infinite Magicraid Discord. But that's pretty much the whole Nid Rold kind of overview, and let's go ahead and actually see him in action, shall we? Alright, so we're at the guild boss. I'm just going to hit this button and we'll get this party started here. Don't really worry too much about my team composition because this is by no means optimal. I'm not telling you guys to use this type of team. This is just what I'm rocking with for global at this point in time as I continue to build up other units basically. So things are going decent so far, and hopefully we can get some lovely damage out of him. Then once this is over with, we'll slide back over to his equipment, and I'll take off 2 pieces of his gear if I can and still keep my sets, and we'll actually try with the crit rate, the leech, and mastery set. Alright, so that battle is complete here. It looks like Elena did end up out-damaging Nid in this scenario, but sometimes Nid out-damages her, so I don't really know what goes on there other than what I specified before with the whole RNG action. And then Holder did some damage too, but I'm actually curious to see how much of the bleed stacks these 2 units by themselves could sustain without Holder being there, because he's pretty much just there for kind of free and easy damage even though he's only A2. But let's go ahead and head back here and we'll modify Nid's gear and we'll hit the guild boss up once again. Alright, so I had to do some finagling here to where I couldn't equip the Fearless set up there while I still maintain the Wild set or the Slay set, just because I only have 2 pieces of Fearless gear that I can currently equip at this point in time. So what I ended up doing was swapping out both sets. So now he's rocking a Fearless / attack combo, which does have okay subs. I'm not really going to bother showing you guys the subs just because we can pull up his stats right here, and if you really want to compare, then you could just play the video back. But he did get a noticeable increase in mastery, I do believe, and effect hit is still kind of dirt nasty low. Crit rate did drop as well, but I'm curious to see his performance in the guild boss once again with this setup versus, you know, his prior one. So let's go ahead and get this party started here, you guys. No bleed stacks, and I totally forgot to drop Holder, but you see that? He literally dropped 4 stacks from his ultimate right there. So they shouldn't really have that big of an issue with maintaining bleed stacks if it's just the 2 of them. Because that's what, 6 stacks? Yeah, Elena's the one that is putting up stacks more than Holder. I want to say they reached about 8 stacks before Holder really contributed anything. You know, they should honestly just let bleed be able to crit, man. That's what I need, some bleed crits. Alright, that is done once again, and it seems like nothing really changed in terms of like swapping his equipment versus what I had already, which once again is kind of hard to show because it's RNG dependent, and nothing changed with Elena either, and we can see that her damage is pretty much the same, which makes things a little bit weird, champ, right here. But that's basically the Nid Rold review, you guys. I think he's a great unit. He's honestly my favorite bleed unit to date, just because of how he hits and his whole cool sword animations. It's just that at this point in time with my account, bleed is kind of hard to kind of really reach like the pinnacle of, just because I kind of need to, you know, work on filling out things as we go on. But the game dropped in global, what, a month or two ago, so it kind of makes sense at this point in time. But I'm definitely working towards tweaking bleed out more and seeing what type of things benefited the most. And also, I do believe the developers had indicated that they may be looking into buffing bleed in the future too, so hopefully Nid's damage is just going up from here. But I've also been using him in the campaign, which I haven't finished either, because as you guys can see, this is my current setup. But once I test out bleed more and get kind of a better understanding of it and kind of what benefits us the most, definitely expect to see some more Nid action in the future as I test them out here. But that's pretty much all that I can share with you guys at this point, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you pull Nid and you have other bleed units to go with him, feel free to use them. If you don't have any other bleed units, then I would probably have to pass on him, just because I would honestly recommend at least one other bleed unit to be with him. But that's pretty much it, you guys. Hopefully you found this video helpful, or you discovered something new. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I do hope that I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Infinite Magicraid. Play to slay.